I know. Are we still talking about hurricanes? Remember, the season ends November 1st, so we're still good. Besides, today marks a monumental occurrence. Hurricane Michael was the first Category 5 hurricane to strike the continental United States since Andrew in 1992. Hi, I'm Chris May, host of This Day in Weather History, a podcast from the Weather Network in Canada. So let's take some inventory here. I have covered on this podcast the most powerful hurricanes to make landfall in the United States in terms of pressure intensity, and they include the 1935 Labor Day hurricane and Hurricane Camille in 1969. I don't miss a thing. And remember that if you haven't heard these episodes yet, subscribe today and have access to the entire library of 5 to 6 minute shows, and you can catch up on the ones that you want, because every day's a new day in weather history. But for today, Michael was the first Category 5 hurricane on record to impact the Florida Panhandle, which I immediately found stunning, given the propensity for powerful hurricanes to strike everywhere in the Gulf. It was the fourth strongest landfalling hurricane in the continental United States in terms of wind speed, and the most intense hurricane on record to strike the U.S. in the month of October. So there's a lot riding on today's episode. On a more micro scale, though, Michael was the 13th named storm of that season, 7th hurricane, and 2nd major hurricane, again in 2018. It originated from an area of low pressure that formed in the Caribbean Sea 7 days prior. On the 7th, it became a TD, and then on October 8th, 2018, this day in weather history, a tropical storm grew into a full-fledged hurricane named Michael near the western tip of Cuba, and it moved northward. And this is when things went critical. Michael took full advantage of the bathtub-warm Gulf of Mexico waters and hit major hurricane status on the 9th. With the Florida Panhandle in its crosshairs, Michael reached Cat 5 status with peak winds of 160 miles per hour, that's about 260 kilometers per hour, just before making landfall near Mexico Beach, Florida on October 10th, becoming the first to do so in the region as a Cat 5 hurricane and as the strongest storm of the season. And just as the song goes, Michael rowed his boat ashore. This powerful tropical storm moved inland, and although weakened by this, it followed a path that took it northeastward to Chesapeake Bay, downgrading to a tropical storm over Georgia, and then transitioning into an extratropical cyclone over southern Virginia late October 11th. By this time, it was essentially over. So now to account for the damage and losses. Along the Florida Panhandle, the cities of Mexico Beach and Panama City suffered the worst of Michael, with catastrophic damage reported due to the extreme winds and storm surge. Our own Weather Network crews were on location for that and saw firsthand the devastation left behind and the total loss of infrastructure. As a matter of fact, if you have not yet done so, you really should check out the accompanying podcast video short that we produced for this episode. It has tons of video shot by our team when they were live on location for the aftermath of this event. You can see it on television on the Weather Network, and you can also see it on our website by going to www.theweathernetwork.com/weather history. That video and our storm hunters saw numerous homes that were flattened and trees knocked down and strewn around over a wide swath of the Panhandle. A maximum wind gust of close to 140 miles per hour, close to 225 kilometers per hour, was measured at Tyndall Air Force Base before the sensors failed, and that caused extensive damage to jets on the ground. More on that in a moment. And as Michael continued to grind along the southeast, very strong winds caused extensive power outages across the region. Michael was responsible ultimately for at least 74 deaths, including 59 in the United States, 15 in Central America. Michael caused an estimated $25.1 billion in 2018 USD in damages, including damage to U.S. fighter jets that were tied down at Tyndall Air Force Base to the tune of approximately $6 billion, and at least $6.23 billion in insurance claims in the United States, and then there was the $3.87 billion in losses to agriculture. That is the full story of Hurricane Michael. The Weather Network was there for it, and now you know how and when it started as a hurricane before it became worldwide news. You got the inside scoop. It was on October 8th, 2018, and you heard it here on This Day in Weather History. Tomorrow is October 9th, and for this day we go back to the year 1963 in Italy. It was on this day when a tragic landslide caused a massive and sudden wave of water to overwhelm a dam. Now, the dam was built to supply hydroelectric power to this northern Italian region, but instead, it brought tragedy. It was on October 9th, 1963, on This Day in Weather History, with me, your host, Chris May.